A woman offered me $20 million to break up with her son. How much is your son worth? I'll buy him. She replied, 10 million. All right, I'll break up with him. In TV dramas, the Cinderella who catches the eye of a rich kid is always portrayed as hardworking, makeup free, and wearing old white t-shirts and jeans. Well, that's pretty much how I've been all my life. My dad had an accident on a construction site, my mom remarried, and my grandma raised my brother and me. She hoped I'd marry early so I could support her in her old age and help pay for my brother's education. Fortunately, with pressure from the local community office, she allowed me to finish middle school. Grandma often scolded me, saying, "What's the point of studying all day? You'll still end up marrying some guy and serving him." She didn't want me to continue my education, insisting that I should let my brother study instead. But I was determined to attend a top high school, and I got in with the highest grades. Furious, Grandma kicked me out of the house. One day, she let me return home. I overheard her on the phone. It turns out she had taken money to marry me off to someone in the countryside. I ran away and lived at school for the next 3 years. I never went home again. My brother turned rebellious, started hanging out with bad influences, and developed a foul mouth. He would show up at school, demanding money from me, thinking he was the little prince of the house and everyone should cater to him. After my college entrance exams, during the summer break, he seriously injured someone in a fight. Grandma tried to secretly give him money to help him escape, but I brought the police into the house the very next moment. Grandma fainted from the shock. When she came to, she sat on the bed, grabbed things, and started throwing them at me, screaming, "Why aren't you dead yet, you worthless girl?" I held my college acceptance letter in one hand, grabbed my suitcase, and walked out. Looking at Grandma's tear-streaked face, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm not going to die. And neither will you. You'll watch me become rich, and I won't give you a single cent. In college, I met all kinds of wealthy people. Some were spoiled princesses. Others were reckless rich kids. There were driven and ambitious young men, and then there were the nouveau rich who spent money for fun. My roommate, Xing, was the typical rich but dumb girl. She loved to mock me, always glancing at my wardrobe with disdain, asking, "Can't you wear something decent?" One time someone stole my food delivery, and Xing saw me arguing with the delivery guy downstairs. She crossed her arms and sneered, "Look at those two like a pair of stray dogs." I never responded to her because I knew one day I might need her. Xing, always looking for ways to assert her superiority, got me a job as a server at a fancy cocktail party. She was gliding through the crowd in her sparkling evening gown, while I was there in an ill-fitting black and white uniform serving drinks. My plan was simple: finish the job, get paid, and leave. But the moment I saw Jack walk into the room, my plans changed. Clumsily, I spilled wine on the rich guy's suit. The party manager fired me on the spot. Xing shot me a death glare and strutted away. But Jack, the one I spilled wine on, wasn't mad. He looked down at me and asked, "What's your name?" I let a few tears fall and ran out without saying a word. "Don't worry, my prince. You'll see me again." After that night, Xing never treated me kindly again. She cursed me every day, saying, "I brought you to a high-class party, and you still managed to mess it up. You can't do anything right, no brains at all." One night, the captain of the school's basketball team came to see Xing. In a flash, I saw them making out in the bathroom, sneaking in some forbidden fun. Her glamorous evening dress was being pawed at by the sweaty hands of that young punk. I quietly took out my phone and snapped a picture of the scene. When the new semester began, every student organization president found an anonymous email in their inbox. Inside was a video. The moment they hit play, their world expanded. Soon, everyone on campus knew about the heroic deeds of Xing and the basketball team captain. In the end, she dropped out and went abroad. On the day she left, she wore a mask, afraid someone might recognize her. Even then, she still ordered me to carry her luggage. I smiled at her and asked, "What's your new school called?" She didn't answer. I reached up, pretending to fix her hair, and in one swift motion, yanked off her mask. "No matter where you go, I promise everyone around you will receive that video." Under the scorching sun, Xing trembled with rage. She glared at me, then suddenly let out a scream and raised her hand to slap me. People around us turned to look. Her parents, embarrassed, dragged her into the car. But there, standing beside their car, was a tall man, staring at me with a dangerous, unfriendly look. I had seen him on Xing Xing's phone before. He was her brother. I heard Xing Xing desperately complaining to her parents, but even they didn't believe her. No one would believe I was the bad guy because there I was, the simple, innocent girl, helping with the luggage. Dear little princess, you're used to throwing money at people to humiliate them. But what you don't know is that people like me, broke as we are, can take revenge in the most cost-effective way by using the internet. From Monday to Friday, I work part-time at a cafe. Jack comes in and stays the entire afternoon. On weekends, I'm a cashier at a convenience store, and he comes by every day buying tons of stuff only to leave it all behind for me. He leans over the counter, looks up at me, and says, "Why don't you just be with me? You don't have to work anymore." I'm still that stubborn Cinderella, refusing his charity. I grab his card and toss it to the ground, snapping, "What do you take me for? I don't want your money." Jack has no choice but to go to the store owner and say, "You better give her a raise or I'll report you to the labor board." One day, Jack gets out of his car to help me hand out flyers on the street. After about half an hour, he pulls me aside, sits me down, and takes the thick stack of ads from my hands. He's hesitant at first, but then he suddenly gets the hang of it, approaching people with confidence. By the time we finish, I split my earnings with him, and the look on his face is priceless. It's the first time he's earned money with his own hands. It's cute, but in my head, I'm calling him ridiculous. Helping me hand out flyers only to have me wait for him under the hot sun. He could have just dragged me into his car and taken me out for a nice meal instead. Then, out of nowhere, Jack pours his heart out and says, "From now on, I want you to keep earning money with your own hands. I'll be with you every step of the way." I put on my best moved face, pretending to be touched. After a long pause, I leaned in and gave him a quick kiss, just a brush of the lips. But inside, I was gritting my teeth. I've had enough of working until my hands are calloused. If anyone expects me to earn a living with my own hands again, I'll chop their hands off instead. The news of Jack and me dating quickly spread around campus. Some people thought we didn't match, while others shrugged and said it made perfect sense. Isn't this exactly like a drama? The girl goes through hardship and finally, her handsome, rich prince arrives to save her. Congrats! But here's the thing, sure, the prince has money, but the girl doesn't. Why should the girl have to stay poor? Jack spends a lot on me makeup, jewelry, designer bags. He even threw me a huge birthday party. I have to admit, in my 20 years of life, I've never been the center of attention like that. Most of the guests were Jack's friends, not really people I knew, but the atmosphere was lively. I was holding flowers, surrounded by all these wealthy people. Someone called for a waiter to come take our picture, and my eyes landed on the slightly awkward server. That was me, 6 months ago. Someone, drunk, yelled at Jack, asking if he'd already booked a room for us tonight. Jack, with his arm around me, laughed it off, telling them not to joke. Then he whispered in my ear, "I'll respect your boundaries." I chuckled silently, looked up into his eyes, but he couldn't meet my gaze. Should I say Jack is taking me too seriously, or should I wonder if he's hiding something? One day, as I stood at the school gate, a white car pulled up and blocked my path. The driver leaned out and said, "Miss, Ava asked me to pick you up." Hearing Ava, I knew that every Cinderella eventually faces this moment, and mine had finally arrived. 3 years ago, Jack's mother passed away and his father remarried a woman 30 years his junior. A marriage like that is nothing unusual in the world of the wealthy, but I didn't expect Jack's stepmother to be so young. As I approached, she gave a soft, elegant smile and removed her sunglasses. She had a delicate oval face, a smooth, full forehead, and striking almond-shaped eyes that coolly studied me. The sunlight reflected in her brown eyes, making them appear as clear as a lake. She was nothing like the overly dressed, red-lipped, jewelry-covered socialite I'd imagined. She had just turned 30, carried herself with calm grace, but still had a youthful sparkle that could easily pass her off as 20. She said, "I'll give you 20 million to break up with my son." "How much is your son worth?" "I'll buy him." She replied, 10 million. "All right, I'll break up with him." Ava's expression turned cold. Seems you don't love him at all. You only love money. I gave a nervous laugh. Come on, sis. Don't act like you're any different. Hearing me call her sis, her sharp eyes flickered briefly. She extended a hand. I'm Eva. We shook hands and I caught a whiff of her luxurious perfume. Looking up again, I saw her smiling at me, a smile laced with hidden meaning. Who knows what she was really thinking? I never told Jack about meeting Eva. That weekend we went on as usual, just a casual picnic with his rich friends, racing their expensive cars along the seaside road. I've got a new friend to introduce to you, Jack said, standing beside me. I looked up at this new friend, only to be stunned for a moment. He stared back at me, eyes full of amusement. Clearly, he remembered me too. He greeted me politely. Hi, I'm Tom. But I knew the unspoken half of that sentence he was Star's brother. Jack was too absorbed in his new motorcycle to notice my reaction. He and Tom raced off, disappearing around the bend. I stayed behind, lost in thought, wondering what Star had told Tom and what Tom might now tell Jack. When they returned, both were laughing, surrounded by their friends. Jack didn't notice me standing outside the crowd. He got a text, and then hurriedly put down his helmet and left. His sudden exit was suspicious, so I followed him. I saw him walking to the parking lot where a girl was waiting for him. He grabbed her and pulled her into his car. She leaned in to kiss him. He hesitated at first, but then he couldn't stop her. Strangely, I felt calm. Maybe I had already seen this coming. A voice behind me interrupted my thoughts. I turned to see Tom's side profile as he approached. You can cry in my car if you want, he said, his tone neutral, but after what you did to my sister, I doubt you're that fragile. I turned and walked away. I wouldn't waste time talking to someone who looked down on me. I called Jack. Hey babe, I'm not feeling too great. I'm heading home. Have fun. He didn't catch the weight in my last words before I hung up. As I got into the car, I finally remembered who that girl was.